talk to Wilfred Emmanuel-Jones, MB, the Black Farmer. I was talking about you a second ago and this idea that the countryside is racist. And I think the idea that the left are basically saying, well, you know, because farms are all inherited, we need to get rid of that so we can bring more people into the countryside. Very much the Robert Mugabe strategy.
Well, I'm not one who's advocating that the rural community is racist.
No, I know.
I'm definitely of that view. But what I wanted to sort of comment on is this thing about should farmers have to pay inheritance tax. Now, basically, I mean, I'm a true blue conservative, and one of the things I could understand what this particular government is doing is that they're trying to prevent a lot of people from the city who go make a lot of money, and as an investment they go and buy land knowing that actually they don't have to pay inheritance tax. And the thing that I've been advocating for years now is that actually we need to get people from non-traditional farming backgrounds into farming. If you're from a non-traditional farming background, it's almost impossible to get into farming. And the only way you're going to bring about change is to allow those people who don't have the heritage, who do not have the tradition, an opportunity to go into farming if they can. And the biggest problem is access to land. And if you have been fortunate enough that your land has been handed down through generations, you have a massive asset. And this asset actually gives opportunity in order to be able to buy things, to do things that you do not have if you don't come from that sort of background. And therefore, if the government has got its figures right, and it's only going to be affecting a small number of farmers, I mean, I'm all for it, because actually land prices have been going up through the roof because of big institutions who have the buying power, buying up land, which then again is preventing people from non-traditional farming backgrounds getting in.
But it's very simple, isn't it? I mean, really, because like if a man dies and his wife doesn't have to pay inheritance tax, or the other way around, surely if a farmer wants to leave it to his family, you know, his son or daughter or even his nephew or niece, to keep it in the family, because it's a going concern, it shouldn't have inheritance tax. So you could differentiate between, you know, big corporations and people.
Yeah, but I run a business, and my son has just joined my business. Yeah. And the idea is that eventually, fingers crossed, that will be handed over to him. Yeah. And therefore, and you know, the whole reason I've worked hard all my life is so that my children can sort of benefit. Yeah. But I don't think, therefore, he then shouldn't have to pay the sort of taxes that everybody else should.
But it was not viable. I mean, if you've got a farm, say, worth £6 million, you'll have to pay £1 million. You might only be making 50 grand, and you'll get it over 10 years to pay back with the interest of about 7%. It's unviable, and gradually there'll be bits of the farm taken away.
But hang on, before you answer that, Wilfred, isn't the point that you've made and the government made all about this policy being a land grab of one description or another? You don't like and they don't like certain people buying land, and therefore you want to push them out of the area. And I worry about that as a principle of saying the purpose of this inheritance tax is not actually anything to do with the NHS. It's not anything to do with roads. It's to do with the fact that we have decided who should be allowed to own property and under what circumstances, and we're going to bully everybody else out.
That is not my view. My view is that if you are someone from whatever walk of life and you want to go into farming, you should have the same opportunities as someone that's had their farm handed down through the generations. And I'm saying at the moment, that is impossible. Now, anybody, like, for example, I've got a farm. It's only 30 acres, and it's a sort of lifestyle business in the greater scheme of things. But in order to get that, I've had to go out and actually earn a lot of money that most people could never, ever get hold of.
But why should you give up some of it? Why are you arguing for it?
With respect, this is the...
On both of you speaking there. Just
sorry, but with respect, this is the argument Robert Mugabe made.
No, it's not the argument that Robert Mugabe made.
It is the argument that Robert Mugabe made. He said that it is unfair that white farmers... I mean, I appreciate the race issue is not an issue here, but it's unfair that white farmers inherit their land. The only way that we are going to... No, I'm not saying you're talking about a race issue. country. I'm not saying that. Zimbabwe is not Britain. But he was saying that white farmers inherit property, and the only way that we are going to have mass land ownership is to tax these farms effectively at 100%, take them off people and give them... And the result was abject chaos. The breadbasket of Africa had a famine. But bluntly, it was this. It was the government saying, we know who should own the land. This is about egalitarianism. This is about creating a whole new group, a whole new caste of farmers, and we're going to do that by force. Now, if what you're saying is there's a problem with the inheritance tax system, then I would say abolish death duty completely. But if you're saying we don't like this particular group of people, and we think that the only way to level the playing field between traditional farmers and people who've come in new is to tax the additional farmers until they're out of business, which by the way is the implication of what you're saying, then I think that's a problem.
Okay, well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this. Farming needs to go through change. We have a massive problem in the farming industry. And one of the reasons why we have a problem, because it's very difficult for new people to come in with new ideas to come into farming.
But Wilfred, this policy is about throwing out the existing people, not assisting in any meaningful way new people.
Aren't you a turkey voting for Christmas, though? I mean, you wanted to hand your son the farm and you went, oh, now I've got to pay this money. Oh, great, that's much better. Why are you a turkey voting for Christmas? Well,
oh, God, do I look like a goddamn turkey, for God's sake?
I mean, you do turkeys. You do, mate.
What I'm advocate is an advocate for change, okay? We need change in the farming industry, and it shouldn't be that the only people who could get in it are people who are wealthy. Look, I'm pretty well off, you know. I'm a pretty reasonable. I've got nothing against...
Well, look, we've got to take a break. Can we come back to you in about a couple of minutes? We're just going to take a little break here. Come back in 2 minutes.
OK, we're joined by Wilfred Emmanuel-Jones MP, the black farmer, who I have to say has caused shock and consternation in the Talk family by being, A, Conservative, well, that's not a shock, we knew that anyway, but B, a farmer, we knew that as well, but C, in favour of Labour's inheritance tax policy. Wilfred, shame on you.
I know you boys don't like it, but, you know, if we're going to bring about change, sometimes we have to swallow a bitter pill.
Were you lobbying for this inheritance tax when you didn't have to pay it last year? Were you going, come on, other farmers, we want to pay some more tax?
Let me tell you this, is that either you guys are going to come to terms with the fact that actually the farming industry needs to change, and we need to make it change in a way that we're going to get some new blood in. Otherwise, it's just going to really get out of hand. And I think that the farmers have chosen the wrong battle. You know, it is really, really difficult being a farmer in this country. And the only way...
That's why they're upset.
Well, the only way we are going to win this battle is that we need to get Urban Britain on side, who are going to help to fight...
I've got a friend of mine, right? So I've got a friend of mine who's followed the kind of Clarkson model, if you like.
Yeah, Clarkson's got the urban people on his side.
So Clarkson effectively... I believe probably what people are saying is true about him, that he wanted to avoid inheritance tax, so he bought that big farm. I suspected the reason he bought it was because he wanted a big house in the Cotswolds, and there are different planning rules on farmhouses than normal houses. But that was my initial guess. But either way, he's a townie who's doing all the things that perhaps people don't want. But he's also brought a huge degree of expertise to the farming industry. He's created a TV business in Chadlington. He has also created that new farm shop and whatever. And there has been innovation brought in. And I suppose my comment to you is, well, hang on a second. Surely we should be defending the pull factor of positive tax benefits rather than the push factor of taxing people out of the business.
The only person that's gained out of Clarkson programme is Clarkson. He's done very well out of it. What I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to help the poor farmers. And the best way we're going to help farmers is for Urban Britain to be on their side. So one of the things, for example, I've been campaigning against for ages is that, you know, we should have the face of farmers on our food products. Unfortunately,
sorry, I just want to stop you there and just say, you cannot seriously be telling me, on the one hand, that we need this inheritance tax change to bring in new people to farming, which plainly means get rid of the old people, at least to an extent, and then say, this is something that will help them. Well, it won't. I mean, you have a belief.
It'll ruin them.
You have a belief, and it's not an illegitimate belief, that we need more diversity of talent in farming, and we need people who've not just inherited. But you are trying to push people out. That is the way you seek to achieve it.
How could £1 million bill be paid by someone making 50 grand a year?
I'm not trying to push people out, you know, because I'm trying to say that what we cannot do is just focus on these sort of people. Is that by giving other people an opportunity, they might be able to create some fantastic business. And the thing that we all have to understand about farming...
We've only got about 10 seconds.
Okay, the only thing we've got to learn about farming now is the old way of farming is changing